For the Bluetooth wireless pendant to work correctly with WinCNC, there are a few things that are necessary to set up. The first thing you need to do is go to Help, About, and go down to Feature Enables, and make sure that this, the one that says Serial Keypad, is checked. If it is not, then you need to call your manufacturer and have them to enable this feature. Once you have this feature enabled, you can go on with the rest of the setup. I click OK here. Now I'm going to go ahead and shut WinCNC down, and I'm going to open up the WinCNC.ini file. Okay, I need to add a line to my WinCNC.ini file, and in order to set that up correctly, I'm going to go to the WinCNC manual, and I'm going to look at this line. This is the line that needs to be added to the ini file, only without the number sign there, the pound sign. I'm just going to copy that line. I'm going to go back to the WinCNC.ini file, and somewhere here, it really doesn't matter where I do it at, I'm going to go XHC. Now all that is a comment, and it's just telling me what this is. So I'm going to paste that line in there. Now these aren't right. I need to put numbers here in place of these. So I'll come back over to the manual and read what it says. The T number sets the type, and it must be currently a 1. So I can look at the next one. The D is how often the display refreshes on the pendant, and it's measured in milliseconds. Since there are 1,000 milliseconds in a second, we're going to do it every 500 milliseconds, which is every half second. And the S is the stop transit. What that means is when I stop turning the MPG wheel, that it will stop sending signals to WinCNC within this amount of time. And this is in milliseconds also, and the default's 200, and that's what I'll use here. That would be 1/5 of a second. So within 1/5 of a second of when I stop turning the MPG wheel, it will stop sending pulses to WinCNC. So the first number I need here is a 1. The next number I need here is the display rate, and I'll put 500. Remember, that's 1/2 second. And the next number here is the speed that it stops at, and I'll put 200. Now you could put other numbers here to make it react differently, but those are the default numbers, and I'll leave them set thus. So I will save that. Now that's one big part of it. And now if I restart WinCNC, it will actually control the axes of the machine. The buttons aren't set up yet, but the axes can be controlled. But that's not where I want to stop. So I'll close this, and I'll go back to the WinCNC folder, and I will open the CNC screen ini file. And now I want to go back to the manual, and I want to go to here. These are the buttons that are defined on the pendant, and you'll see a number on each one of them. Here's a 1 on seek limits, 2 on set XY, 3 for park, and so on. Okay, I don't have all these. I don't have a park, and I don't have a home, but they'd be easy to set up to do that. I'm probably not going to use a 1 or a 2 right now, and I definitely don't have pins. But I can set the rest of these up. I can do a seek limits, I can do a spindle speed control, or spindle on and off, I'm sorry. I can turn my dust collector on and off. I can do a set XY, a set Z. I can even do a set A because I do have a rotary axis. And I can do a clear. I don't have a clear button on my screen, and I don't have a spindle on-off button on my screen, but I do have a couple of hidden buttons which allow me to set this up, and I can actually do things with this that I can't do by clicking buttons on the WinCNC screen. So I'm going to leave this in the background and keep switching back and forth to the CNC screen INI to get a new button number. So the first thing I'm going to do is do my seek limits, or home, or initialize. So I'll come over here, and that's a 1. I have to remember that. And I go down and I find my seek home. No, it's not. Mine's not seek limits. Mine's not initialize. Mine's seek home. Okay, now I come over to these two numbers right here, and if I look up here in the definition line, it's going to be the scan on and scan off. And if we counted from left to right, we count over that many places, and it would be these two numbers right here, this -1 and this -1. That's, in general, that's a good way to find these on the user buttons and the auxiliary outputs. I want to set, since this is button 1, and I want it to do what I want it to do. In other words, I want it to home the machine. I'll come over here and I'll put a 1. In order for that to stop, I want to do 0. Now, if I look at the manual again, set XY is 2. And I'll look right below it and I see that set Z is 6. So I'll try to remember those. Come back to here. I have a set XY here. And that was button 2. And I also want a 0 for that. I have a clear XY here, but I'm not going to do that, because that would just clear the X and the Y, and the button that's on the screen clears everything. I do have a set Z button, and that was button 6, if you remember. And I'll set that as a 0. And the same thing for the clear Z. I'm not going to use that. I could, if I wanted to. I could clear just my Z with a clear button. It doesn't really say that I can't. But what I'm going to do is, I don't have a button on my WinCNC screen that says clear, that clears all of them. But I do have one defined here, an invisible button. And the reason that it's invisible is I don't have any of these other numbers. I don't have a top, a width, a height. I don't have any of those defined. So I can use this and it'll be invisible. But the pendant, the keypad, will be able to use it. And so I need to go back here and see what that button number was for clear, and that's a 12. And I'll do 12 here. And not -0, I want 0. And the next thing is my spindle on-off. And I don't have one of those buttons on my WinCNC screen either. I can type M3 up in the command bar and hit enter, and M5 to turn it off. And that will turn the spindle on and off. But I don't have a button that I can click to do that. Many WinCNC screens would have that button, but I just never found a reason to put it on there. But I do have a spindle on-off thing on the wireless pendant, so I'm going to go ahead and define that. It's invisible to the WinCNC screen. You can't see it on the WinCNC screen, but it's available to this because of the same reason that the clear button works. So the button number on this pendant is 4. And I will come over to that and replace this -1 with a 4. Now the 0 comes in to play. The second one is to turn it off, and I'll put a 0 there. And let's see, is there anything else? Yeah, dust collector. My dust collector will work on this. I do have a button on the screen for dust collector, but I want it to work with the wireless pendant or keypad also. So I look over here for dust, and that's button 8. Come back over here, and it's so easy to do this. I just put an 8 right there. I've got to be careful about not messing this up and not putting wrong numbers in the wrong place, anything like that. But now I've got those things all set up. Remember, this was not set up in my WinCNC prior to this. So I just save that. And now I will close this out. I'm going to minimize this. I'll just minimize everything. And I'll come to my WinCNC folder here, and I'll start WinCNC. Now my pendant should start WinCNC, and all of my buttons should work. And now I'm going to go back over to my machine and test my pendant. Be right back. Okay, so here we are back with the wireless pendant. I'm going to turn it on. Oh, that's not going to work until you plug in the USB key. Now I've got it up. I've got to restart WinCNC for this to find WinCNC. And you should see the numbers appear here on the screen to match up to the WinCNC numbers. And they do. Okay, now that's just telling me that WinCNC is actually communicating with the pendant. I could turn this thing to this control knob here, and I'll try to zoom in a little on that knob. Hard to see, but the knob has an X, a Y, and let me see if I can raise this up a little bit here. You can see the X, the Y, the Z, and the A there at the button there, or at the knob. Okay, so I'm going to turn it on X, zoom back out, so that you can see that X is actually moving. And I'll show you that it will control the axis. I can do it on a medium speed. Do it on a slow speed. I can do the Y-axis, and it's still on slow. I'm going to make it come toward me. Make it go away from me. I can do a Z-axis. I can control the spindle on and off by the buttons, and I'll show you that in a minute. I can also control my A-axis, my rotary axis. I'm not sure if you can hear that or not. I'll put it on fast speed. You can see the position indicator changing right there.
and I'll zero it out on the key or on the keyboard. You can see that it changed here. And now if I so that all works. I can turn, like I said, I can turn the spindle on and off. And I'm going to zoom in again here so you can see the spindle button. That's this button right here. And I can turn that on and off. But I need to add a little bit of spindle speed to it to make it come up. So I turn the knob till it says spindle. And I'm going to raise that up a little. And you can see the RPM coming up right there. That's the S value there. Turn it up to about 9,000, somewhere in there. That'll do. And I'll hit the spin button here. And I'll zoom back out so that you can see the spindle. I'm not sure if you'll be able to really see it or not. But I'll hit the spin button. And my spindle came on. I can change the speed of that here. Or I can go down. Say I want it in the 8,000 range for some reason. Honestly, I never cut much below 12,000 RPMs, but and I can go back up to the 12 if I want to. I can go up to 15, maybe. My clicks are only allowing me to go so fine detail, but there's 14,880. There's 15,120. But you can see 16,000. So it's all right there at your, pretty much at your fingertips. I'm going to turn that spindle off, and remember, I don't have a button on my WinCNC screen to turn this on and off with, but I do have a button here that I can do it with. I can turn my dust collector on. I'll zoom in there to where you can see the dust. And right there's my dust button. If I push that, my dust collector will come on. See, that works. Move back over to one of the axes. Stop on X. And zoom out just a little bit. Not sure how well you can see the numbers. I'll move it so we can see just a little better. Okay, and maybe I should move it down just a little bit so you can see that when I press, what happens when I press the button. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do, right now I have locals set on my WinCNC screen. And with my local, it says that my X is at 11.153. My actual machine coordinates, it's at 16.066. But with the local set, it's at 11.153. And I'm going to push the clear button, which I do not have on my WinCNC screen. I have a clear XY and I've got a clear Z. but I do not have a clear all, which is what I've got this set up to do. Remember, I made the invisible buttons on the spindle and the clear to do these things with, just for the keypad, for the pendant. So I'll just push clear, and you can see that both numbers match up now. So I'm going to do a set XY here, and you'll see this number change to 0 on the X and the Y. My Z stayed the same, it's 4.928. I can do a set Z, and now it's it's 0 also. I can clear them again. And that's how simple this is to set up. It's a really straightforward and easy process to set the WinCNC wireless pendant up. Thanks for watching.